how I created the blueprint for success. And that is exactly what I've done. And I want you to understand that I just put out something where I said you were born successful. And I know that that is true for every single person because it is within us. It's our authentic selves, but it's about how do we get there? And so, why would I be the person to create a blueprint for success? And you need to have a little context. And I'm going to take you back and tell you how that occurred. And it happened over years. It didn't just happen like yesterday. And so I'm going to give you more background. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Roger Burnley, and I'm a spiritual teacher, I'm a coach, I'm an intuitive, I'm a spiritual channel, and I'm a prophet. And so for 35 years, I've been developing this information and living it. And so that's why I know it can guide any individual to success. We're all connected to source, to God, to whatever you might think of, but we have different paths that we're meant to follow. And then what happens is we come into the world and we're living at a different time in the world, which many of us have experienced over the last several years. But I had an insight into why that was happening because of the work that I have done and what I have experienced. I'm going to take you back a little bit because in 1989, it was February 19th of 1989, where I received my first message from Wilhelm. That's when I started doing automatic writing. And I was sitting down and just receiving guidance because I needed some. I was going through a lot of things in my life. And I thought, let me try and reach a higher state of understanding of consciousness or whatever. And as that began to happen, as I started to receive that information, it was really kind of surprising for me. It was shocking to me to tell you. Actually, it was really, really quite surprising. And so um, I kept going for years, for 20 years. Then what happened is I moved through all sorts of other difficulties in my life. Now, you must know that in my early part of my life, from the time I was a child, I was terrified of everything. You might have felt that throughout your life. I didn't know why I was in this world, what was going on for me. And I just had this feeling that I didn't fit in. I didn't know who I was. And I kept searching around my entire life trying to find something, which is why I could end up at one place in 1989, like at that age, not knowing still where I was. But as I started going through and receiving these messages every single day, it turned into a philosophy. And I've talked about this. I didn't understand that either, but that philosophy was called Your Life Operating Instructions, which I then took and put that information, that philosophy, into a program because I began to understand that what happened and what happened for me, the only reason I couldn't get to achieve the kind of success that everyone was talking about was because I couldn't own who I was. I couldn't get to that authentic part of me because I had trauma. I had generational trauma. I had judgments on myself. I had made every mistake. I had done all of that. And so getting beyond that was really difficult. Periods of depression, period feeling suicidal at times. I mean, it was just where am I supposed to go? Then to end up healing things because I kept receiving the information. Then I began to understand science a lot more. I did a lot of study on it, by the way, from neuroscience, the different things. I just wanted to understand why do we operate differently as individuals, as humans? And I started to understand that. And then I kept writing about it over the years. I actually put out a book in 2019 called Overcoming Fear, A Guide to Freedom, because I recognized that what I had been receiving from Wilhelm is the only way that I was able to move beyond the fear that have just kept me shackled for most of my life. And so I said, I have to give more to others. See, I didn't understand why I always had this need to be helpful to absolutely everyone until it showed that I was given this path that I was supposed to follow, that this gift. And it was difficult for me to even say that I was a mystic or that I could channel and receive information. And then in 2021, when I started doing live channeling, it was even more surprising because I discovered then that I could answer anyone's question. When I was in that state of receiving higher guidance and information, I could answer anyone's question. I could see any single person, what was blocking them, what was holding them back. I knew that. Now, it was while I was in that state. It didn't leave completely when I'm coaching someone or working with something. It's still there. But it's quite different when I'm doing a private channeling, which is why I'm starting to do more of them now, because people want deeper guidance into what's going on for them in their lives, especially during this time in our world. So in 2020, I knew that the world was changing. Everyone thought, well, it's just the pandemic. We're going through all of those things. And I knew it was something more than that. Well, it wasn't me that knew, my Wilhelm knew, and they kept giving me the information. And that's what I kept writing because I could see that we might have wars, we might have different things that would be happening. And especially in the United States, we were going to have anger, we were going to have division and all of that, because every person alive is trying to figure out who they are and how they could get to that success within their lives. Doesn't matter who we are. That's what, and the success is whatever you want to experience, whatever causes you to feel whole, to feel complete. So then what started to happen over all of those years, I started doing these things that I couldn't explain to anyone. I had every kind of medical condition that was just really crazy most of my life. Some of them just almost dying many, many times. So I started to heal in ways that I couldn't explain to others. And even my doctors did not understand that. And they would look at me and I say, oh, okay, let's not talk about it. I'm not ready to tell people yet because I don't even understand what I have done. And you might find that about yourself too. See, because we gain wisdom and knowledge and information that we're sometimes not even aware of. Now, mine was a little bit different because I'm receiving precognitive information, meaning telling me what might be happening, what might be occurring in our world, and on very specific dates as well, which I could never explain. Except all I knew was that what was happening is that I was changing and I was healing, and then I decided I have to try more. I have to see if this is just me or if it works for others. So in 2021, I decided to put people into a program called 4 Weeks to Your Best Life. And it was only just a really short program, but I wanted to see if the information I had received, if it would work for others. And it did. And I'll leave a little short video at the end because I want you to hear it because these folks told me what had happened for them and it was beyond my expectations. You will hear them say that they had done all of these other things in their lives and all these other programs and all of that, but this gave them something so great. But you know what? It took a while for me to accept that. When we can't understand what we've developed and who we are, it's hard for us to accept what that is. And that's what keeps us from becoming really abundant, from reaching the places we could achieve in our lives. And I was doing that, so I understood it. But then I also understood it with everyone else. When I discovered I was highly intuitive and I started meeting with people and doing empowerment sessions, basically, I could read what was going on with them. And I just kind of knew that. And there are videos out there that people are saying that they thought I was this wizard or something. Someone said that in one video. No, I was just intuitive. We all are. I just had been developing it for so long, and this is why this all developed. And so why I say that it is a blueprint for success because it guides each person to their success, and that is within you. That's your authentic self. But what we have to do is move through all the judgments, all the difficulties, all the challenges, and all the generational trauma, whatever's been programmed into us. Now, you might have studied many people like Dr. Bruce Lipton or many other, or Joe Dispenza. Everyone says that the only problem is we have things that we can't get over about ourselves, we can't accept, and because of that programming. But we also know that we can change it. And you can hear that all the time, but it's really challenging when you haven't seen the result. Well, I'm the result because there's no reason I should even be alive. But I understood later that the reason this was changing is because every single day I was changing my brain. And that's what anyone can do. I just created a path for others to be able to do the same thing. And then the reason that this is called, you'll see that I'm using things like a global transformation because I know that's what's going on. The only reason that this would come about for me now is because I understood the changes that were happening in our world, and my life path said, you're supposed to help. I think all of us are supposed to do that. All I'm doing is facilitating others in raising their consciousness so they can become that successful person that is within everyone. Because when you move through all of your doubts and fears about who you are, you start to reach that success. And then the universe just says, okay, now we're going to also make you abundant because you're willing to own yourself. And I wish I could tell you that it was something other than that, but it isn't, because I've lived all of it. I've had times where I was incredibly successful because I was doing something that brought me a lot of money. That's what I thought. But then it wasn't it. This feeling of like something's missing. And that what was missing was me finishing this work. That's what it was. And that's what I'm doing now, which is why I'm talking about it, which is why I invited a few people to join if they're ready to reach that next place. Because what I'm doing, and you'll see all of this because I'm laying it out, I'm changing it's going to be on my website because I want everyone to understand the full impact that this work is going to have, all what it covers. Because see, what you want to know is your life purpose. You want to know how you can get there, how to create a great career. You want to have wonderful relationships. You want to become abundant, and all of those things you can have when you move through this work, because you will get there by owning and discovering your real authentic self. And you hear that all the time, and we wonder, how can we get there? It's because we have been programmed not to do it. That's all. And then we have fear. The only reason that you ever feel you don't feel confident is because you haven't found who you are. You haven't found your authentic self. But that's a journey, and it's an ongoing one that you will do throughout your life. I'm still doing it because I'm making this change now. It's 73 years old. But I'm telling you, you have success within you. But I just wanted you to understand how this came about, why I can say this and how I created it, because I have the proof. Um, when you become aligned with who you are, you can perform all sorts of things. You become much more creative. Many people will experience mind body healing, as I have, and many people have demonstrated it before. It's just come through in the work that I have received, and other people have experienced the same thing. So I do know that it does that. But I just wanted to explain to you why I'm making these changes and why I call this my work, your last development program, the blueprint for success, because it will take you there. And this is why I that's why I guarantee it. There is something that I want you to understand. There's no difficulty, challenge, or problem that you could possibly bring to me that I wouldn't be able to see your solution. Now, I do know that, but I want you to know it yourself. So that's why I have it in a program where you work through it. But then when we get together in a group setting, which is what we do every week, then those places where you're stuck, we move through it, because I will understand it and I will know what's holding you back. There's no reason for you not to be thriving and having everything that you want. And I know this because I held myself back, and I really never want to see any others do that, because also I understand that it's so important in our world during this time that more people are happy, that they're up leveling their energy, their feelings about themselves, and experiencing the kind of abundance anyone could have. That's what I'm doing. So I invite you to check out my work. You can go to my website. You can check the links here in this video. If this is your first time here, please subscribe and share it with others, because at this time, anyone who wants to do this, you can, because price is not an object. It's affordable for everyone. However, the reason I'm making the changes is that it is going to the much higher rate when this stuff is in there. But anyone who comes in now, you will have all of it where it is, and your life will be transformed, and you will have your blueprint for success. Because what happens is you keep this information with you. You're always a member. You can always come back and keep working on it, because we're never done. That's what it is. So I want you to know a little bit more about how I created the blueprint for success. See you soon.